I had a great life. I grew up middle class, suburbs of Detroit, great family, you know, safe. We've all kind of won the birth lottery, and I recognized that and was trying to think of ways to give back. And the best that I could think of was to help defend the country and ensure that the opportunities I received, growing up would be available to as many people as possible. Any submarine officer has to be nuclear power trained. And so the Navy has a strict training program in partnership with the Department of Energy. They're the only, all submarines are nuclear powered. And they're the only nuclear powered reactors that are not overseen by the Department of Energy. So the training program is, because it's very technical, the Navy looks for very technically minded people. And I had an engineering degree. As a result, they what we call nuke drafted me, meaning they didn't have enough people they thought they could pass the technical requirements that year, and said, Midshipman Cappo, you're going to DC to interview, we think you can do it. And when I passed, they said, great, you're going submarines. So my day-to-day experience on the sub really changed as I progressed. So when you're very junior, you work all the time. There's different roles that everyone has to fulfill. Somebody's driving the submarine and operating all the systems at all times. It usually takes about a third of the crew. So a third of the day, the crew is driving, they're operating everything. It has to be watched. And then they turn over to the other third of the crew, and 24/7 somebody is doing these certain jobs. Meanwhile, you have to learn the next job. There's kind of this seniority rank. So when you first start out, you do your job for a third of the day. Then the next third of the day, you're studying to qualify for that next job, that more senior position. And then there's also repair operations, maintenance that have to be done all the time. And that takes about a third of your time. So if you look at it, there's no sleep in there. And that's really a problem. That's one of the biggest problems in the Navy that they've worked to address, is lack of sleep. As you get more senior, all of a sudden, you don't have to study for as many higher positions. You've already qualified those and know how to do them. You also stop doing as much maintenance because you're handing it off to the other junior guys, because now it's your turn to sit back. So from, sleeping less than 4 hours a day, maybe on my first deployment, if that, a couple times I went 2 or 3 days without sleep, you go to the senior one where I'm watching a movie every day, working out on the treadmill, and, doing about 4 hours of work because I'm a lot more senior and I'm delegating or just procrastinating. So you have, it's a lot of work. It's definitely not as much sleep as most people would like, but you get into a routine, and there's a lot of downtime where you're just, watching movies, playing video games, playing cards,